Okay, so first thing we need to do is actually to install Node.js. What you want to do is go into the website. So if you can go into the website, so just do a search on Node, right? And just download it for your platform, okay? Just download it and then just install it. Okay, so let me just do that here. Okay, so I already actually have it, but if you have it running here, okay, so now you have Node somehow here. What you want to do is run and install whatever you have downloaded. Okay, so let me just do that. So basically it will install. Okay, so I'm just going to continue this. Okay, so what I want to do is just continue, agree to everything, and then install it. Okay, now I already have mine installed, so I'm not going to install this anymore, but it's as simple as that. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is test that Node.js is working. Okay, all right, so how do you actually test that Node.js is working? You want to go inside your folder. Okay, no, so first thing you want to do is test that Node.js is working. So to test Node.js is working, so what we can do here is we can go inside our terminal now, or our command prompt. So if you remember the command prompt, right, that we used, it's the same thing. Okay, so this is the max version of the command prompt. You see, it's more or less the same. So you see, I have the same folder here, except I don't have a drive C, right? But it's roughly the same. So to test it, assuming you've installed it, you just type node -- version. See? If this is shown, then it means it's installed. Now, for Windows, you have to close your command prompt. If it was open all along, close it first and then open it again. Okay? It's not so smart. So imagine the thing is open and then you install Node. If you test it out in the command prompt, it will not be updated. You have to close your command prompt and open it again. Then test Node. So the test is node -- version. What you want to do is just to see a version coming out so you know it is working. You see there. So one thing that Node comes along once you install it is this Node Package Manager. It's called NPM. This is used by a lot of developers or anybody building things to install stuff, Node.js related stuff. Okay, so npm-v. Okay, so this is there. So when you install Node, you're also going to get this npm. So npm is basically an installer. All right, it's basically an installer for Node. Okay, so next. Okay, so that's for testing. So it's really important that this one works first before you do anything else. Okay, if not, I recommend you close a command prompt and then run it again. If it doesn't work still, try to reinstall Node, all right, and then just do the steps again. So normally, I don't find any issue with this. Things normally just work. Next, so the next thing is let's create a folder for our Node projects. It can be anywhere in your computer. So I've shown you in Windows to create this MD app folder. For Mac, it's mkdir app folder. I recommend you just use the command prompt to do it, so it's faster. You learn how to use the command prompt. It will really help you out. So here, to make things simple, class, I don't recommend you have too many subdirectories and place things there. Just make it really simple. Just know where you are. So for me, I cannot keep track of where I put all these folders. So once you have too many folders, sometimes you get confused as well. Which folder did you put it in? And then you get all mixed up. So I recommend just use a few folders which you can remember. And don't get mixed up, which folder you're in. So right now I'm in my working directory. You can also place it right at your working directory or drive C. Okay, so I'm just gonna place here MD Node project. Okay, I'm just gonna do that, MD Node project, or any name. Okay, so that's for Windows. Sorry, for Mac it should be mkdir Node project. Okay. So mkdir. Okay, I'll make this a bit bigger. Okay, mkdir Node project. So you might say, how do I know it's created? Well, again, dir to list, ls to for Mac, dir for Windows to list, ls for Mac to list. So for me, I'm using a Mac, so I'll use ls, right? And then I'll just take a look here. You can look at it on your seats and see whether you can see it. And you can see I have it right there, Node project. Okay? So that's super important, huh? You have to know which directory you are in. So right now, I've created it, but I'm not inside this directory, right? I am outside it. I'm in the parent. So what you want to do is actually go inside this directory, okay? You want to go inside this directory. So, see, that's basically what it's saying. So when I say navigate inside the folder, go ahead and do that, okay? Okay, so wait, maybe I should... Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the same folder. Okay, I'm just going to... Okay, so you can use the same name. You can use the same app folder name if you want. Maybe I should do that. Okay, let me just delete this app folder first. Okay, let me just delete this. Okay, so let me just do that again. So let's say I am here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the practical here. And it say here that I want to create a folder. Okay, so to create the folder, you use MD for Windows, mkdir for Mac. So let's just go ahead and do that here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm in my working directory. So choose a place which you can remember, not too complicated. Okay, so wherever, for me, as I go to the terminal or command prompt, wherever that is, working directory, why not use that? Simple. Make things simple. Okay, so I'm going to just create it. So MD for Windows, right? But for Mac, it's mkdir app folder. I'll just call it app folder. There it is. Okay, so if I do ls for Mac, dir for Windows, so ls for Mac, then I will have here, where is that? So you see I have app folder right here. Okay, I have an app folder right here. So it's been created. However, I'm in the parent of this folder. I am not inside the folder. What I want to do is actually to navigate inside the folder. So this is the step here. This is the important step. Maybe I should have highlighted this in red or something. Because you need to be inside your app folder to do all of this server stuff. So let's go inside now our folder. So again, you have to go inside. So you have your command, your prompt here, right? You see, I am here inside my working directory. When I dir or ls, I should see my folder. If you don't see it, then you can't go inside it, right? Okay, so I can see it right. Where is that? Here. I can see it right here. Okay, I can see it right here. Okay. So I want to go inside it. So let me go inside it now. So it's basically cd app folder. And now I am inside it. So if I look inside ls or dir, there's nothing, right? So that's where we are now. So at least now we can see from this, from this text here, where you are. In Windows, it will be something like c:/, user / something, but it's roughly the same thing. Okay. So next, let's move on. So the next thing here is we're going to create a package.json. Okay, so this package.json is used to specify the libraries, right? It's just a text file actually. So in Node.js, when we deploy this to a cloud service, right? We're going to deploy this to a cloud service. This cloud services actually use this package.json to know what it needs to install to make your fulfillment work. Okay, so this is an important file in Node.js. Okay, in Node.js. So let's go ahead and create this. So we'll just do a npm init. Right, so remember, I'm inside my app folder when I do this, npm init, press enter here. Okay, so right now I'm just going to press enter to everything, right? And then when it's done, I just press yes. And you can see if I dir or ls, okay, you can see that the package.json is actually right there. Okay, package.json is right there. Okay, now let me just show you a tool. Okay, some of you might know that there's a tool called VS Code that is also pretty useful. Okay, so I just want to open that up. Now you can also do these things in Visual Studio Code. Let me just show you. So I'm just gonna if you download Visual Studio Code, okay, Visual Studio Code, if you ever open it, it actually has a built-in, you see this? It has a built-in terminal or command prompt. It has a built-in terminal or command prompt ready to use. So for those of you using this, you can actually do all of these things I just showed you right here. Okay? So for example, I want to open the folder, right? So for example, I'll just do file, add folder to workspace. Okay, so when I want to add a folder, I probably should have created it already, right? So I'm just gonna go inside my my folder. Okay, so if you drop down here on a Mac, you can actually see your folder, right? Okay, so just select your folder basically. Just click add. So you should see. Let me just okay, I'm just gonna close all of this stuff. Okay, so you can see now this app folder is actually created, and you can see there's package.json right there. See that? You see? So now I am okay, so this is basically another way you could view this if you have Visual Studio Code. Okay, to open this up. Okay, so there's the terminal. So let's say I did not build this. All right, let's say I didn't do this. So let me delete this first, Okay, so I don't have anything at this point. So I can use this. You can see this terminal. Okay, or basically this. If you do new terminal, if you don't have this, let me just show you. So if you don't have this, you can just do a new terminal. There will be some option for you to create this. Okay, so let's say I'm in the wrong directory, let's just say, right? You can always navigate. You can see this is the wrong folder, right? So I can always go out of this. So I'm seeing the wrong place. I'm in download. So let me just go out here. All right, so if I do an ls, okay, so I can see app folder here, right? So I'm navigated now to this, so I can actually go inside this. So I'll just say cd app folder. Okay, that's one way to do that. And now I am inside. Okay, let me make it's a bit bigger. So if you want to use this, you may as well, instead of this command prompt or terminal, you can actually do it from here. So I can also say npm, see? I can do npm init. And I can just do the same thing here. Okay. So there you go. And then the advantage of that is you can actually see it from here directly. So it's simpler. So for those of you who like this workflow, maybe you're not so familiar with command prompts and the like, it's easier if you have Visual Studio Code to just view these things because they're all like integrated together. Just make sure you want to add the folder to the workspace and just play around with it. Okay? Okay. So that's for that. Anyway, I'll do both so that you can see they're the same thing. Huh? I want you to be familiar with both. Okay, so now that I have package.json, let's move forward. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is actually install the Node libraries. Okay, the Node libraries. Okay, so to install the Node libraries, we're going to install a particular important library. This is the most important library. It's called Express. Okay, Express library. All right. And so to install something in Node.js, you want to go inside the folder and then copy and paste this thing here. So npm is what you call the package manager. This is the installer program. Install is like a sort of command to install. Express is the name of the library, and then save will actually save the identity of this package or library into your package.json. Let me show you. So I'm just going to copy this, right? So you can do it right here as long as you're in the right folder, right? Or right here. Okay? You can do that. So let me just do it right here in Visual Studio Code because this is probably the more common way you would do it, right? So you can just paste this thing here and then just press enter. Okay, and there you go. Done. Simple as that. So if you were using this one, it's the same thing. You could do paste it right here. It's just going to replace everything. It's fine. So both of them work, huh? I'm just showing you that you have options, huh? It's always good to have options, what you prefer. Okay? So, remember how I installed it. I have to go inside the folder I want to use as my server directory and then install everything from inside my subfolder. So you can check it. Again, it's always good to check if you're new to this. Just do an ls or dir and you can see now that this thing has been created. Okay? This thing has been created. See that? So if I do an ls, it's the same, right? It's created. So this node modules is a folder. This is where it installs all the files related to Express or the library. You can go inside and check this. All right. So let me just go inside here. Huh? So I'll just do cd node modules. It's a bit bigger. Okay. So cd okay, maybe not too big. cd node modules. Press enter here. Okay, so now once you do that, I'm inside node modules. I just press dir or ls to actually view it. And you see all of the things that has been installed. A lot of stuff has been installed, right? That goes to show that this has been created. So you see one of them that's been created is called Express. You see that? This is the library. So this is another folder. You can go inside this. So now I'm inside the Express folder. See that? I'm inside the Express folder. And you can also, again, ls or dir to see. So if you're curious what's in there, it's a lot of stuff, huh? Which we don't really bother about. But just to take note, a folder will be created with the package name in there. Okay? So if I do this here, you can see node modules is actually created. You can also cd node modules there, and then you can see express right here. Okay. By the way, you can use CLS to clear, or let me try. Is it gonna work here? Or clear in Mac, it's clear. Yeah, it's a bit cleaner. You can also do it here, clear. Okay. Now, of course, I don't want to be here. We was just playing around. So again, to go back, cd double dot, right? Now I'm back in Node modules, cd double dot, and now I'm inside app folder, which is where I want to be. Okay. So same thing here. cd. I'm just showing you both. Normally, I will not use both, but I'm just trying to. Oops, I went too far. Okay. I'm just showing you how to do it in any way. Now, that this is just a built-in version of this, so it's a convenience. Okay, so next, let's move on. Okay, I forgot to say something. There is this -- save. Okay, what is this? So if you actually look at package.json now, you can look at it from here, right? You can look at it from here, package.json. You can see that if you look down here, this version of Express has been indicated here under dependencies. This is super important because when you place this into a real server, it will actually look at this version and install this version into the server without you having to do anything. Just by giving it this, it will do all the installation for you. Okay, so it's quite convenient, no? So this is a must, huh? You must do a -- save, right? You must do a -- save. Where was that? Yeah, so that this will be indicated here. See that? That's very important. Now let me just show you another example here, okay? Okay, so another example here is, let's install another one just for a practice. In this case, we're going to install a library called request. Okay, so I'll just do the same thing. Again, I have to know where I am. I'm in app folder, right? So I'll be npm install request -- save. Remember 2 dashes. Okay. So as you see, as I have installed it, right? Okay, this thing. Okay, there it's done. After you've done it, you see that this thing is created. See that? It's under this package.json. Okay. Now you might say, sir, what if I'm not using this? Well, how do I actually view this thing? Well, of course, if you're not using this, you can actually open this in another editor. So what I would do, okay, let me just show you. If you're using another one I recommend is Sublime Text. So I'm not opening it, then I would open it separately. I would just say if open, right? And then I would go under, where is my, under users, right? Under users, app folder, and then you can also open it here, see? So there's no rule they have to use Visual Studio Code. You can also do the same thing here, okay? So there's options, huh? However, if you want to follow along, I'm going to close this. If you want to follow along, I'm just going to use Visual Studio Code for that. Okay? So that's installation of libraries in Node.js. Simple. Okay, so there's a bunch of things here. It says Node modules folder is created, right? All the required libraries are present in this folder. So next is, let's create an app.js file. Okay? App.js file. Okay, so you have this piece of code to do this, right? This will actually use Express library and actually run a server. This is a real server, okay? Simple, looks so simple, right? But it's very powerful. That's why Node is so popular. So I'm gonna copy this code now. I'll explain what this code does in a moment. But to make things short, let me copy this. So from here, class, if you're using Visual Studio Code, you can type it right here. So all you have to do is make sure your folder is selected, right? Then you just click on this new file, right? And then you can just call it whatever. For us, well, let's just call it app.js, okay? There. So you can see it's nicely inside. You see that? It's nicely inside the app folder. You can also check it here, ls, and you have same thing, okay? So it's just a convenience that you can see there. I'll paste the code now. Okay. So, okay, this is a little bit not well formatted. I'm going to format it a little bit nicer so that you can see what it's supposed to look like. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to indent. Sorry, let me just indent a few things here. Okay. All right. So now we have this piece of code. So what is this code doing? What is this code doing? So what it's doing is creating a server. So let me just comment what each of these lines are doing. The first line here is it is importing a library. Okay, importing a library called Express. This one makes it much easier to sort of code for your server. Okay, it's just easier. It's used everywhere. You normally do not use native Node.js. You actually use this library to help you out. And basically this one here creates an object, okay, from the library called app. Okay, so that's the second line. Okay, so this line here creates. This one here, when you see this app, all right, app.get, okay, what this is doing is it is actually listening, or not listening, it is basically what you call a route. Okay, so this is called a route. Okay, so what this means is that when a user tries to connect to this with this path, with this path, you have to call this function. Okay, now this function req and res, okay, is basically what you call a callback function. It is a function that is called once a user makes a request. All right, we're going to see this in a moment. So once this user makes a request, or maybe the chatbot makes a request, right, then it will have to respond back, okay, with something. Okay, so this one could be the response to the chatbot, right? It could be a response to the chatbot, right, from the fulfillment. So you can respond. But right now we're not going to do that chatbot things, but it's something like that. Okay, in this case, this is just a normal web response, right? Like so. This res, you see, which comes from this parameter, is basically a special object for responding back. Okay, this request is a special object which contains information about the request. Okay, this function is triggered when a request is made which matches this path right here. Okay, and we'll talk about gets and posts in a moment, but right now you just take note. Okay, so this is a route. So this route will trigger a callback. All right, so rec contains information about the request. Okay, so usually this probably work, for example, request from Dialogflow. Say request from Dialogflow. agent, right? And then res contains functionality to allow the server to respond back to the client. So i.e. again, dialog flow response. Okay, so in our case, we're going to be using it for chatbots, right? But this can actually also used for web, right? Or an app, right? Same principle. Okay. So I hope that's clear, right? So this function, this is the format of the function for JavaScript. Okay. Now, again, all of these things, there are some e-learnings for us to understand more of the style of coding. But right now, just take note of the use of this. Okay. So the next thing to take note of is this piece of code here. What is this code? So this is the actual code to run the server. So app.listen runs code to app.listen basically runs the server. Okay, so it will keep on listening. So a server's job is to keep on listening and listening and listening 24/7. All right, waiting for requests. That's all its job is. So the thing is, this one here has two parameters. Okay, the port and the IP address. Okay, so the IP address has to do with the computer you are in. Okay, the computer you are in. So for our case, since we're going to be running this server in this computer, right? Normally, so if you are running in your own computer, you are using the IP address 127.0.0.1. Okay? So the port is some number, right? So port can be any number. Okay? So it's not important. The most important thing about a port is you cannot have more than one with the same number. It has to be unique. So imagine if you have many servers in a computer, you cannot have both with port 100 or port 80. That will crash, it will conflict. You need to have a unique number. So basically when you do this, you're asking the system or Node.js to give you a unique number automatically, right? And just to detect your IP address. Okay, now let's just, to make things a bit nicer. Okay, so as you can see, we're listening on address on the port. So this one is just displaying out this piece of code. So how to read this? How to read? So we already see that this is a function that's called to start listening, right? So once it has started listening, it will run this function. Okay, you call again. This is a callback. So let me write that. So once the app or once the server starts listening, right, then the callback will trigger. Okay, so meaning that this function will be triggered once this piece of code is once this server starts listening. So it'll just display server started listening on port. Okay, that clear? So that's what this short code does. Okay, so let's just go ahead and run this server now. So to run this, let's look at the next step. So to run this, we basically do node app.js. Simple as that. Node app.js. So let's go ahead and do that. So it'll be node app.js. See? So it's now listening on port 53364. It's listening forever, waiting for somebody to make a request. Okay? That's all that is doing. Now you might say, sir, how can I test this? How can I make a request? Well, this is a web server, right? So you can use a web client to make a request, right? So how do you make the request? We're going to use a browser, which is the ultimate web client, right? So I'm going to go open up Chrome, which will be our method to test everything. Okay, so download Chrome if you have not. It's the best way to test. So all you have to do, what do you have to do? You have to type HTTP, right? The IP address for this local computer, right? It's always, you call this the loopback address, 127.0.0.1. So this address is only used if you're testing on your own computer. That server and the client are on the same machine. Okay? If this is on a real server, you do not use this. It's only if your client and server, you're testing it on the same machine. It's like a special address, special IP address. And so we need to place this port. It has to match. So the format is, in the web, you place a colon and then just do that, right? And then you just press enter. There you go. There it is. It's working. Okay. So you see what happened here. Once I pressed enter here, this whole request was sent to this address at this port. So it matched this, right? It went to this, it triggered this. And then since I did not put any file here or any directory, it matched this thing here, right? So it matched this and it triggered this thing to respond, and it responded with something. Okay? So this is the response. You can only make one response at a time for each request. Okay? I hope that's clear. Now I'm using again Visual Studio Code, but again you might say, what if I'm using some other piece of code? Okay, another editor. So let me show you. If you're using another one, I'm going to use another editor here. Okay, so I'll paste this. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, first you need to save this inside the folder, right? So let me save as. Okay, and then I am going to place it under here, app folder. I'll call this thing app2.js. So you see, because I'm using this editor, once it sees the JS, it knows how to format it nicely. See that? So this is my web app number 2. Okay, like so. By the way, you can have only one send at a time, one rest.send. You're gonna have more. It'll only send one response back. So if you want another response, you have to make another request. That's how the web works. Okay. So you might say, can I run this as well? Can I run this? Why, sure. You can run it. Okay. So again, if you're using this, why don't we try out this one here? Okay. So I'm inside my folder. You can see. Then I can just run the same thing. Node app2.js. Okay, you can do it like that, or Control C to stop it. You have to stop it, Control C. Now, if I make any changes here, let's say I made some changes here. This is my web app number 2. Let me just say I'm placing more text. Trying this again for practice. Okay. I mean, you always have to rerun your server. You have to rerun it. So when you press that, Node app, you can also do like this, Node app 2 without the JS. They'll also understand it. So just click on that, and so it started. Okay. So this time I have this, right? So let's test it again. So you see this number here is different from this number. See that? It's different. This is the assigned number. It has to be different. It cannot be the same or it will conflict. So Node is smart enough to find out what's available and then give out that number. Okay? So don't worry about it. So let me create another one here. Right? So same thing. HTTP 7. I'll paste the proper IP address, and there it is. So now you have 2 servers running. Okay, 2 servers running. You see? So I hope that illustrates the purpose of this port. It's to differentiate between servers. I hope also that you're not limited, huh? I'm showing you both ways how to run it. You can use the terminal with this, or you could use Visual Studio Code with its built-in command prompt or terminal, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so make sure you have to close the app and then run it again when you make any changes. Let's move on. Okay, now you might say, sir, what if I don't want to keep on changing that number, right? You know, it's a bit troublesome to keep on remembering this number, okay? Right? Keeps on changing. So what you can do, class, if you want to run it in a particular number, you can actually make this change here. So what I'm going to do is just comment this out, huh? Okay, I'm going to comment this out. Okay, I'm just going to copy it. So what you can do is you can just change this thing here, give it a value. Usually a very high number is fine. Okay. So in that situation, you're fixing the port. So this is good for development so that it's not very annoying. You can actually, test it without worrying about the port. But when you deploy, you have to revert it back to the other one, no? Because that one, you're not sure that this 60,000 is available in a real server. Huh? So for testing, yes, you can do that. So let me just run this now. Wait, let me just... So again, if you make the change, Control-C, right? Control-C to stop the server, then run it again. Use the up arrow to actually bring back from the history. You see, I can use the up arrow to change. So it will toggle through all your commands. So where was that one? Okay, so there it is. Run it. So now it's... Okay, well, so I think I didn't save it, huh? Because this is supposed to be 60,000, right? Let me save it first. Okay, so once I saved it, Control-C again. Go click out here, Control-C, then Node app.js. See that? So now it's listening on port 60,000. Okay, and then from here, it's a lot easier. Oh, sorry, we're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be... Yeah. Okay, get it? So that is another thing that might be useful. Now let's move on. Now let's create another route. Now you can have as many routes as you want. Okay. And so this one here, so let's just move on and create this route. So the code is already here. You'll see it's the same format. Okay, but this one will calculate temperature Celsius to Fahrenheit, or Fahrenheit, Celsius to Fahrenheit. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's paste this code in. All right, so from here, where do you place it? Where do you place it? So I recommend that your listener just put it at the most bottom. Okay, because this is the last thing that's supposed to be done, right? It's supposed to be listening here. Here you can define all your functions or your routes. So this is another route here, which looks like that. Okay, now I'm not happy with the formatting. You always want to indent. As you can see, you want to indent those things inside the function. So let me fix that. So this one right here, I'm just going to fix this up a little bit. Okay, so this looks fine to me. All right, looks fine. Okay, so this is another route. Okay, so you can put as many routes as you want. The only thing you have to remember is they cannot match, because this one are sort of unique patterns, no? That is going to be matched based on whatever you type or whatever is being sent as a request. So these have all to be unique. No, they cannot be the same, or it will get confused. Huh? You cannot confuse your route, your server. Okay. So what is this saying? Okay. This is saying that if the path matches something with a directory called temp, and there is a variable or something after it, like this. So this one is something like a variable. Trigger this callback. Okay, so I'll repeat that. If your the request matches this directory with temp, and then it has a slash and then something after it, okay, then trigger this callback. Now, it's important to remember this. When you see a colon like this is a variable. So as long as it has it contains something, it will match. No, it doesn't have to be Celsius per se. Okay, because it has this colon. So this is basically variable. No, it can change. This thing can change, right? Okay. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to just comment this out. Okay, it's not important now. It's not important. So this one is doing the calculation. So in this case, I am reading. Look at this. This thing here reads this thing right here. Right? It's reading this variable. Okay. So it's under rec.params.celsius. So that's how you read it. So this request contains sort of this piece of information, right? And then you can read it through this format. Okay. Okay. So let me just write out some of these things I've mentioned. So this is another route. Okay. So the first thing about it is this another route, which matches a pattern. Okay. Okay. It matches a pattern. The pattern is /temp, then some variable. So any request which has this will match. It will trigger this route. This other one will not trigger at all. Okay? And so what happens when it is triggered? The first thing it will do is it will read this piece of information. Okay? Because this is an important information, right? In this case, it will be our Celsius value. And so to read that, we will say rec.params.celsius. So it's basically reading. This request includes or contains this piece of information already. Okay, so we're reading it. Then we are using parse float. Okay, so parse float will convert the value to a floating float number, right? So because this one could be treated as a string. So in this case, we are ensuring that's a float number. So here we're doing the calculation. This is do the calculation. And then here we are actually sending the result. Okay? Like so. Right? So when we're sending, basically when you see this plus sign, we're adding this piece of this Celsius, which we read, right? Plus H3 is just to format it a bit for the web. To Fahrenheit is far. So this one sending the result back to the client. Okay, so the client in this case is a browser, but later on it will be the chatbot. Okay. All right. So let's do that now. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, so first thing is save it, and then stop the app. Then we'll do a node app.js, or you can press the up arrow. Yeah, just keep pressing the up arrow for it to change. The up or down arrow, okay, to change it. Press enter. Now it's listening on port 60,000. So it's much easier, right? So this one, of course, will match this one, right? It will match this, right? But how do we match this one? Well, what is the format or the pattern, it will have a /temp here, right? Followed by some value. But in this case, we want it to be a number, right? So we will just put 100 there, press enter, and look at that. It is actually converted. So we sent it a piece of information. See that? We send it a number. So this is a explanation of the web wherein you can send something to the server. You can send. In this case, this is the simplest way of sending. You're sending a number in this fashion. Okay. So same thing. Remember I was saying the dialog flow will send information out, right, to fulfillment. Remember the JSON data, when you do diagnostic info, it has all that stuff that's sent out. That is the information that's being sent all the way to your fulfillment. Okay, it's sending all that stuff, and then you have to read that. Now we're doing the really simple thing, which is send this one piece of information. Right. Okay, so notice class, if I change the pattern, look at this. Look what will happen. You see? It will have an error. It will just say cannot get, meaning it doesn't know what you're talking about. Because none of these things matched it. None of these things matched. You see? So the pattern has to match properly. Now if I do like this, look, temp, right? I just do that. Look at that. Also cannot get. Why? It doesn't match. There's supposed to be something after it. See that? Okay? Okay. So you have to put something there, some value. Okay, I don't know if it'll include, let's say, see, it will even allow the dot, right? It understands that this is the thing. Is that clear? I hope that's clear. Okay. So there you go. So get this concept first correct, and again we'll have more practice. So the concept of route, this is super important class. I hope you can see that this is used very much on the web, any web development type of problem, where you need to have servers. This is how you do it. You have a route. You see, you have a route to actually handle any sort of a pattern the user types in. Okay. Okay, let's just do another one, just to show again. It's always good to have more examples. Okay, let's have more examples. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is access via query string. So this one is another way of passing information from the client to the server. This one is via query string. And so, okay, maybe what I'll do now is I'll just type it in instead of copying and pasting. I always like you to try play around with it and actually type things. That's the way you learn. I never learn actually from copying and pasting, even though that'll be most convenient for me. Okay, so let me just go back here and let's just type in some information. So I will just do an app.get. Okay, app.get, and then it has two parameters, right? So the first one is the pattern. So remember, it's a string, so it'll have, in this case, I believe it's called /temp2. Right? And then, is that correct? Let's just double check that. Yeah, so that's the pattern. As long as there's a /temp2, and then there is something. The second one is the callback, right? So the callback in JavaScript takes the form of a function, like this function, and then there are two parameters that is defined already. So this contains the rec and res, right? And then like that, it looks like that. So basically, if it matches this, call this function. So the function starts with this begin and the end. See that? Okay, that's the syntax of that. Yeah, that's all you need to know. Now you might say, sir, this looks a little bit complicated. Is there another way to write this? You could also write it like this. Okay, so you can also do it like this. Var, let's say var f equal to, right, you could do it something like that. Okay, and then you place f there. That's another way to write it, meaning you write it separately like that. So this might be simpler, right? Because this is one line and the function looks like that. That's also understood in JavaScript. Okay. Okay, maybe I'll do it like this first, and then we'll revert back to the older way. I'm just showing you various ways you might see this type of thing. Okay. All right. So what is this function doing? Okay. So this one here will try to read what you call a query string. So a query string is another way to pass information from the client to the server. So in this case, you would have like this question mark. I don't know if you've seen this. There's a question mark. Then here you can put what you call a name and value pair. All right. So this is an alternative to doing it in this way, right? You pass it in the like a directory, right? Here this is a way also of doing the same thing. They are equivalent in fact, right? So whatever you call this thing is up to you. Oops. Okay. Okay, so it is up to you. Yeah. Okay. So let's just type in the code. We don't need this request right now, so don't worry about this. So we will just read it. So the way you read it is, let's type it in. So it'll be var Celsius equal to what? Then you would say something like, it is slightly different. You look at this. This is the format for reading this one, right? But here it will be slightly different. So it is okay, so it's request dot query. So instead of request that params, right? This one is params. This one is request dot query dot whatever the name of your query string is. So in this case, we call it cell, right? Like so. Then we can parse float it as well, right? So we can parse float it. So what's the calculation? It will be var far. Okay, so it'll be var far equals Celsius. Okay, let's just follow that plus. Okay, so times 9 slash division, right? Okay, plus 32, right? Like so. And then what does it do? I think it's also always good to actually parse float this. So always convert it to a number, parse float. Like so, right? Yeah. I don't know if I did it. Did I actually do it? There, I actually did it. Yeah. Okay. And then you can put in your message, right? So res.send, right? So send will return back, right? So you can put whatever you want it to be. So again, I'll just make the font a bit bigger so it's nicer to see. H3. So you can give it whatever. Fahrenheit is, right? And then just put a plus to add something to it. In this case, far. Okay. There you go. So that's the function. Like so. Okay. Okay, let's test it. So you can see here, again, let me repeat this. So the route, look at the route. It has to match this. If it matches, it will trigger this. And then what it will do, it will read the query string, whatever with the key cell, and then it will convert it to a float. Then it will perform the calculation. Okay, let's just run this. So let's again, don't forget to close this first, and then run it again. The up arrow key, and now it is running. Okay. So let us test it here. Obviously, this thing will not work, right? So how do we do it? So we will just change this to temp2 to match it. All right. And then what we're going to do is we'll place a question mark right? Because it's supposed to read something, eh? Then it'll be cell equal to, let's say, 100.5. Put 5 here. Enter. There you go. See? Simple, right? So this is what you call a query string right there. You're passing information. So this is important when you deal with API services, right? API services might want to ask you, okay, you're requesting something. What do you want me to give you? Then you might say, okay, I'll give you, I want the stock price for Singapore Airlines. Okay, I want to invest in Singapore Airlines. So give me the stock price. So I have to tell it what's the ticker, right? And so you could do it like quote is equal to SIA or whatever the ticker is for that. Get it? So that's important concept. You're sending information from the client so that you can get information from the server so you can respond with the proper data. Okay? Super important concept. Yeah, there you go. So I hope that this concept is extremely useful. Okay, I'll do one more. Now this one is more of the same, but this one is just showing you a little bit of syntax code. Huh? I hope you're just I'm trying to get you familiar with certain syntax code. Okay? So here's an exercise which you can try out. Okay? And this one will basically ask the user for a grade. Okay? And then it will convert it to A, B, C, D, E, or F. Okay, so it'll output the letter grade from a numeric grade. So again, we're just practicing all of these syntax, as well as learning Node in one go, so that we don't waste time. Okay, because if you know a language, it's quite easy to translate. You just have to get familiar with the syntax. Okay, that one is, of course, that's why we have all this e-learning for you to practice. The syntax, and just get familiar with syntax. Just a programming language. Okay, so I do suggest you try this out yourself if you can, but let me do it now. Again, you can try it out and then go back to this video to see the solution. You can try it out. Okay, so it's again another route which will be accessed in this fashion. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do that. So again, try it out if you can. Okay, by the way, before I try that out, I hope you can see I'm just showing you another way, right? If you wanted the older way, you could also do the same thing. Meaning, if you want to place this right directly here, it's the same. Okay? You can do that. So you will see, if I run this, you see it's the same. It will work. It will work. So there's no difference. It's just your preference in JavaScript. That's your preference. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Okay. So we'll do that one, So this one is saying app. Let's do it. Let's type it from scratch, app.get. Then we will say, okay, the path is like grade, right? And it's supposed to get, you are supposed to get a grade. Like so, right? Again, it's your choice whether you want to use a query string or this. Then you have again this callback, which looks like this. Okay, and so let's convert this grade now. Let's read this grade. So how would you do that? So var grade is equal to, and then we just do a rec dot params dot grade, because it's how you read it. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Double check the syntax. Right? Now, class, I do recommend, as you're learning, to what you call console.log. Log everything so that you can understand your code very well. So, console.log what do you call this? Okay, so this one is grade is then grade. Okay, so it's good to to put this console.log everywhere so that you can see if things are working or not working. And also you understand what's going on. So console.log will basically place this into the log so that you can see whether something was triggered or not. Okay, so let's just type in some code now to do this. So we're going to show you the syntax for an if statement, right? So if grade is greater than equal to 80, okay, let's just put another variable here called letter grade. Let's just say that the grade is let's just give it something like blank, like that. That's okay. So grade is greater than 80, what? Then we'll say letter grade is equal to A, else if, then you have to do this proper syntax, grade greater than equal to, let's just make it simple, just to get the idea. Letter grade is equal to B. Put a semicolon, by the way. There might be an issue. Else if grade greater than equal to 60, letter grade is equal to C. Else, okay, then we have an else. Okay, let's just make it fast. So letter grade is equal to F. Okay, so it's only A, B, C, and F. Okay, and then what we can do is we can respond now. So remember, what's the syntax? So after all of this done, res.send letter grade for, let's just make it a nice friendly one. So grade plus, so this just connects all the strings together, is, okay, then plus letter grade. There you go. Okay, so hopefully everything is fine. Let's see if there's going to be any error. So again, Control C. Oh, no error. Okay, notice if I have an error, like I did not do something correct, right? Like that. Let's see if there will be an error. This one is still okay. So JavaScript is very friendly, even though you make some serious mistakes. Let's try. Okay, let me just change this to some weird error, like that. Okay. Okay, see, there will be an error. So it will give you some clue what the problem is, right? So you have to learn how to fix all of these issues. I look at the error and then try to see. Then it'll give you some clue about the line number. It's saying 33. See that? Oh, it's 33. Okay, then it gives you a clue. But sometimes it's not very clear. So you have to be very meticulous looking at the code. Okay, so let's just run this now. Okay, so let's just run that again. Oops, still an error. Oh, I didn't save it. Or you have to save it first, then okay, so it's saying something like address in use. Okay, so it means that it's still seeing that there is a process using this. All right, when you see this EI, what I want to do is, let's see if I can just close it. Let me see. You see, that's because it's saying that there's already a process using 60,000, which is not good. So that problem is probably something didn't work out great. So what you can do is maybe you can close and open Visual Studio Code again. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me see if that will work for me. Okay, it's good we also have some errors so that we can see how I would solve it. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna open the folder again. So I believe I put it right under my users. Okay, let's open that up. Okay, so I'm back here. So again, I'll just try to open my terminal. It should be back here. Okay, so let's see. Hopefully that thing is working. Okay, so Node.js. So I see a bug right there. There was something still running, right? It was like that's why we had to like close everything. Okay. All right. So now let's test it, huh? So what we're going to do is we're going to match the format. It should be grade, right? And then we'll give it some grade. So let's say 80. So this one should be A, right? There you go. You see? So that's a bit of our exercise there. And if you put in a failing grade like 0, maybe 2, then it's an F. Okay? Simple as that. Okay, so hopefully you did try the exercise yourself. That's the way you actually learn. Or you can, again, practice makes perfect. Huh? It's not copying and pasting makes perfect, but trying to type things and understand things yourself. There you will learn. Okay? Yeah. This thing I will not go into right now because we're going to do a lot of post requests, but I do encourage you to try it out. Okay? Basically, this is an example of a post request, but we're going to do a lot of post requests later on. So, but again, to practice, I want you to just give it a try and see if you can do it. Okay. Okay. So that is for the first part of this practical. Okay. Now I'm going to show you. So I've just shown you how to create a server, right? How to create a server. I hope you saw it was not that difficult. And you saw the lines of code, right? If you look at the lines of code, let me open that. Right? It's not that long, right? It's not that difficult. So spend a lot of time to understand what's going on here. You can always console.log. Right, console.log. Right, anything that you need to find out, right? Plus Celsius. So if you wanna find out what's the variable, you can always console.log. Okay. By the way, notice when I ran that previous one, you see the things were logged here. See, that's helpful information. You see that? It's logged. It's because I logged the information. See, so this is helpful if you're trying to find out what's wrong with my program. You want to log things, right, and see where it is failing. Okay. Of course, it's important as well to indent things, make your variables very clear and the like. Okay. Okay, so let's move on now. So this is an introduction of creating your own server. This will be the basis for later on when we actually connect these things to the chatbot. Okay, but right now we're not at that point because I need you to get familiar with this, no? How you run your own server in your own machine. Later on when we upload it, right, to a real machine, I mean a real server, that will be another set of things that you need to know. Okay, but right now we're just testing it in our own machine. So get familiar with it.